Hey, Facebook live stream viewers, we are so glad to have you with us here backstage at Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. We have an exciting show today that I'm calling Fighting for Your Country. And we are going to be interviewing my dad, Jack Gutman, who is a veteran of World War II of the Normandy invasion. Would you like to say hello, Dad?
How are you, everybody?
And we'll have two other ladies, one in studio with us, Linda Shaffer-Vanaria, one of the first Navy test pilots who now is doing something much more subdued. Now she is a coach and a speaker and a consultant. Linda, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everybody. Great to meet you and looking forward to speaking with you shortly.
And we'll be talking to Linda just a little bit later in the show. So glad to have you with us, and I think we are ready to go.
Tired of the rut you're stuck in, but don't know what to do?
Change it up! Join life transitions therapist, speaker, and best-selling author Paula Shaw. She'll be exploring topics that make change and the challenge it presents smoother and more productive. She'll also be spotlighting change makers who are leading the charge to make the world a better place. If you're ready to live a more exciting life, at home, in the workplace, and around the world, it's time to step out of your comfort zone and change it up. Now, here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. So glad to have you all here with us today. It's close to Memorial Day, and we're doing a show today that I'm calling Fighting for Your Country, because we are going to be interviewing some people who are fighting for the country or who have fought for the country in some very different ways. First of all, we'll be talking to my dad, World War II veteran, who I'll tell you a bit about in just a moment. And then we will be talking with Kimberlee Centera, and then followed by Linda Shaffer-Vanaria, who are fighting for the environment, who are leaders and speakers, people who are standing up and speaking out about renewable, sustainable energy and ways that we can create energy and not damage our planet. So please stay with us. We've got an action-packed show, if I dare to say it that way. All right, so first, let's just talk for just a minute about Change It Up Radio. Those of you who are regular listeners know that we're all about change. We're all about helping people deal with change, because sometimes change is welcome and sometimes it is not. But even when it is welcome, we hate the discomfort of the unfamiliar. So there's always work to do when change comes along. So our goal here on Change It Up Radio is to either bring information to help people make change smoother and more productively, or to spotlight change makers, like we will be doing in our show later on today, people who are working to make the world a better place. So if you want to learn more about this show, or if you're interested in being a guest or a sponsor on Change It Up Radio, you can learn more about us on our website, changeitupradio.com, just like it sounds, changeitupradio.com. Now, in my normal work, I'm a life transitions therapist. I'm also an author and a speaker. Most of you who follow our show are familiar with my latest book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say, which I find is a real little treasure chest to have, because most of us really don't know what to say when those difficult conversations come up. We're so good at talking about the latest sports scores or the gossip, the hot gossip in the office, but we're not so good at talking to each other in those human moments. In those moments when one or the other of us is hurting, or something sad or something painful has happened. And my goal in this book was to give people actual things to say and an understanding of what makes a successful communication, a good conversation that's really loving and supportive. And I think that's what this book does. So please check out Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. It's on Amazon. And my other book, Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End, is also on Amazon. And that book is not a book that has to be read from cover to cover, because I know what normally happens when people are grieving is they don't have the energy to read a book from cover to cover. So this book has short chapters and then a lot of processes and exercises that you can do to actually help move you through the grief. And speaking of grief, one of the things we will be talking about in our show today is PTSD, which, in my opinion, is really a form of grief. I mean, it's all about a loss or a trauma that changes your life experience and what that does to you. So we will be talking about that in the interview with my dad, which is coming up right now. So let me tell you a little bit about him, besides the fact that he's my dad. Jack Gutman was born in San Francisco in 1925. He grew up in a tough neighborhood in New York, where his family later moved, where survival meant belonging to a gang. But at 17 years old, he wanted so desperately to serve his country that he convinced his father to sign him up, and he enlisted in the Army. It was World War II. After training for months as a medical corpsman, his first active duty took him to England to prepare a hospital for the aftermath of the invasion of Europe. On D-Day, he landed between Utah and Omaha beaches in the Invasion of Normandy, and he was 18 years old. I think that speaks for itself. He later actually served the same function in the invasion of Okinawa, which is pretty rare. Most people did not serve in both theaters. And this led to him having undiagnosed and undealt with, really, PTSD for 66 years. And finally, and I'm happy to say I was a part of it, he realized, because he was being supportive, so he signed up for this grief group I was teaching, and he realized in the course of the group that he was grieving, that he had aftermath he had never dealt with from the invasion of Normandy. And so he later did get some help, and we're going to talk to him about that, because that changed his life and made him able to do the work he does today, which is primarily speaking, teaching. He's an author. He's written a book called One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War. You can get that on Amazon as well. And he has an important message to share about PTSD and service, trauma, and getting help. So without further ado, hi, Dad.
How are you? Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So I've kind of set the stage, Dad, that you were so young. And I mean, when my son was 18, I wasn't even sure I could trust him to get to school totally safely. And here you were, landing in the middle of a war, trying to actually help save lives, right?
Yes. It was...
A little, yeah, if you will kind of set the stage, tell people what it was like.
Well, here I was, 18 years of age, and we had prepared a hospital, as she had mentioned, to get ready for some big thing, which we did not know what it was going to be.
I think that's an important point. The invasion was a secret. Even those of you who were serving didn't know exactly what was going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we did not know. We set up this huge hospital in Netley, England, which is near Southampton, and we wound up just preparing us for something big, which turned out to be Normandy. And then there was a few of us that were picked out to do some training, like learning how to climb down the nets and landing on the beaches. And it was a very, very hush-hush thing. We could not tell even our shipmates at the hospital when we were gone for a week or whatever it may be, what we were doing. Otherwise, it could be court-martial. And when you're 18, someone even said they could probably shoot you. So at 18, you don't want to have that happen just for that. Anyway, at 18 years of age on June 6, 1944.
75 years ago.
75 years ago. I'm on a ship, and we're heading in rough waters to France, to Normandy. Now, in Normandy, there were 5 beaches that were going to be invaded. The Canadians and the British had Juno, Sword, and Gold. The Americans had Utah and Omaha. We came in, we were just supposed to be, my particular portion was to come in later on in the day and just assist the medical people there that were from the Army and just take care of the wounded, whatever needed, and then evacuate them and take them back to the hospitals that we had set up. We were told at that time that it would be relatively not a big problem because you're coming in later. Well, when we saw the shelling, once it started around 6:30 in the morning from way off, and we saw them hitting the beaches. Now, one thing, what happened was this, which I'll set a little picture for you. There were 5,000 ships, 4,500 landing craft. There was 11,000 planes involved with this, parachutists and everything else. And there was 150,000 men, British, English, and American, that were going to hit these beaches. It was a huge force, a great team that was set up to try to do this invasion. The Germans had these bunkers up on the hill, concrete steel bunkers, and they had to be rendered useless. So the shelling from the beach, from the ships, hit the beaches, and they didn't affect too much on the bunkers.
So, Dad, just to be clear, in those bunkers were these giant guns, right, that could take people out very quickly and easily.
Yeah, huge
And they
weapons.
wanted to destroy the guns so that when the guys landed on the beach, they would not get shot immediately down.
Right.
Okay.
They had a machine gun that could shoot over 150 bullets a minute.
So this sets a picture that we're going to have to discuss when we come back from the break. But you can see it looks pretty grim, although it was supposed to be not such a big problem because those guns were supposed to be shot down already. Right?
Yes.
So when we come back from the break, you can tell us about the rest of what happened.
Okay.
We'll
Thank you.
be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Now, more than ever, it's important for women to understand why they need a financial strategy. Women tend to make less money than men, live longer, and face more financial challenges during retirement. Hi, I'm Sherry Blair. With evolving roles and increasing responsibilities, women are seeking out ways to become more knowledgeable about their finances. My life's work has been to empower women to make good financial decisions today to help ensure you have a bright future tomorrow. I'm here to help you learn more and to become more. Give me a call for your free no-obligation consultation or a second opinion at 619-997-0416. 619-997-0416. That's 619-997-0416.
Sherry Blair is registered with and securities are offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company. California license number 0B42369.
Hi, I'm Kelly Klein of OneTrust Home Loans, Loan Coach Kelly. A while back, my business was in a slump, and it triggered a lot of self-doubt and fear, and it even had me questioning if I'd made the right career choice. So I booked a session with Paula Shaw. And after hearing my predicament, she explained that when we get into negative, self-sabotaging thinking and we're being run over by our limiting beliefs, it's almost impossible to create positive outcomes. She helped me clear those destructive thoughts and beliefs using her cutting-edge energy psychology techniques. Not only did I feel a whole lot better after the session, but within 2 weeks, I had 7 loans in my pipeline. I was so glad that I went to see Paula Shaw. And you should too. It really changed my perspective on life, business, and now my business is going great. You can reach her at 626-864-0756. That's 626-864-0756. 626-864-0756. Or check her out at paulashaw.com. That's paulashaw.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. We're delighted to have you with us today. We're talking about fighting for your country. And the guest that we're talking with right now is Jack Gutman, my dad, who is a veteran of World War II, of the Normandy invasion. And if you were with us in the last segment, you heard him start to paint a picture of what it was like on that day when we began fighting at Normandy. So, Dad, I think you've set a great picture of the ships, the men, everything that was there and was going on. So now go ahead and tell us, what was your personal experience?
Well, as I mentioned before, the bunkers had to be rendered useless. So the planes were supposed to come over and bomb them, and they dropped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bombs. So when we were coming in, we saw and heard the sounds and the shells and everything else, and we thought it was going to be a cakewalk. Mm-hmm. Well, it turned out that bombs had dropped a mile behind the bunkers because
so
there
they
was
did
cloud
not,
cover.
They didn't destroy the guns.
Did not destroy, so
So
they were
what's the
open
scene
to
now on the beach?
Yeah, all those guys on the beach were thinking that they were rendered useless. Came on, and many of them were just slaughtered as they came off because they had a lot of bunkers, not bunkers, the barriers and poles with mines on them. There were mines on the beaches. The water was very rough. It was a rough time.
And because of that barrier, the landing craft couldn't even land right on the beach, right?
Right.
So guys were
we had to go
swim?
and we waded in water right up to our chests, and that made it slower because they're coming in with heavy packs. Some guys panicked, which we found out from the wounded, and they jumped off to the side and it wound up. They
jumped off the side of the landing
craft,
yeah.
and the water was too deep. If they couldn't get the packs off them, they drowned.
Oh, because of the weight of the pack.
So when we finally came in at a later date, like I thought, and it was going to be a cakewalk, so we thought. There was firing still on the beach. There was explosions. We didn't know where it was coming from, but there were bodies in the water. There was body parts from the mines.
And remember,
around.
everybody, he was 18 as he's seeing this
Yeah.
and experiencing
And for an
this.
18-year-old mind, this was more than I could comprehend. It was really a tragedy to see this. You see bodies laying there and you realize there's a young man that's never going to come home and so forth. It was just trauma. The tanks that were supposed to come in to help protect, they were on floats, and the water was so rough it flipped the tanks into the water, and they wound up drowning in the tanks. It was just a tragedy.
Dad, do we have any idea how many men died on the beach that day?
Yeah. There was at least, I think on the beach itself, with the Utah and Omaha, there was over 2,000 that died there. Total that they calculated out, they're not sure. It was at least 9,000 plus that died, and the wounded was tremendous. It was just one of those tragic things that, and you go there and you see guys wounded. Some you had a dressing that the military, the army had already done, but they're still oozing or whatever it is, and you don't take the bandage off. You just put another compress on, and it was just
and some men
scary, scary for an
terrifying,
18-year-old mind, and that's what put me into post-traumatic stress with that, and also Okinawa. You see,
right, and as I recall from stories you have told me in the past, you had boys, really is what they were. They were your age, right? 18-year-olds die in your arms, right?
Yeah.
So imagine that.
You get a guy, you see strange people, strange ways in which they died. I mean, there's a guy that he'd look at me and he said, "Well, Doc, I got wounded, but I'm going home, right?" And I look at him and say, "Yes, you got to go home." He goes, "Well, I did my job. I'm going home." Then he dies. And then you get guys, like I've mentioned before, so many guys pleading with you to help me, you know, and
at any age, that's got to be traumatic, right? Because unless you're a surgeon with a fully equipped room in that moment, there's not a lot you can do.
Right.
And here you were, this young kid, wanting to do your best, I know, and you're in the middle of what really is a horror story, because those guns that were supposed to clear the beach for you and make it okay,
right,
were not operable.
Right.
So what I'm wondering, Dad, is right after, like that battle went on, as I recall, like 6 hours or something, or was it longer?
Well, it was even probably, we were there 5-6 hours ourselves.
Right.
Because whatever wounded we have, we evacuated onto the flat bottom boats, LSTs or LCIs, whatever. They took a lot of wounded. So we finally, that's what it was our job, to evacuate them. So we took them onto there and took them back to the hospitals in England.
Okay, so here's the question that's burning in my mind. As you're on this boat with them going back to the hospital,
right,
what are you telling yourself? How are you soothing yourself? How are you getting through those moments?
Well, at that time there, you just say to yourself, "I survived this," and then you look at the wounded and see what they have, and then a few died on the way. Mm-hmm. And also when we got them to England, a lot of them survived, a lot of them died extra.
So what are you feeling?
But personally, I'm figuring I finally made it, but it's all coming back to me. You kind of visualize all these things. And I think that's what started the post-traumatic stress.
Oh,
because from that moment on, even after I got the month there at the hospital, taking care of more wounded, when I go to sleep or something, I would get that flashbacks.
And you kept seeing the invasion over and over again.
Yeah, I see it over and over again. I see the wounded screaming, "Mama, Mama," guys pleading with you, and everything is magnified. And that's where the tragedy was.
And I think part of your story that's so important, Dad, is you didn't tell anybody you were having flashbacks, that you were having all of this revisiting of the horror story.
Yeah, well, there was a reason for it, because, you see, when I was going through training, I had served in a mental ward for about, almost close to 3 weeks to a month, and it scared the heck out of me. Mm. You know, you're 18 years old or just beginning, and you're taking care, and you see the people going through mental problems, and it's scary. So I figured if I tell somebody what's happening to me, because these things were not common, I thought they would put me into a mental institution. Right. So I went 66 years medicating myself, doing stupid things, telling people off, heavy drinking, and that's when you came in and helped me with you got me to stop drinking. And that, Paul, I have to thank you so much. And I say it honestly, she was the greatest asset to me, got me to stop drinking. And then from there, I went to the veterans to get help.
And that's a really important point. I think actually in the middle of all that was you signing up for my grief group and realizing that you were grieving those losses from what you had experienced at Normandy. And then you went to the VA. And I think this is one of the points we really want to make to people. There's help. There's no shame in experiencing the nightmares, the flashbacks, the irritability, the anger, all of those things that are part of PTSD. Do you know, Dad, I was reading, there's like 50 million people in the country right now dealing with PTSD.
I know.
Not just military, but 50 million people. If you're one of those people, there's so much help that's available. You don't need to be in hiding for 66 years like Dad was. There are therapists. If you're military, you had a great experience at the VA, didn't you?
I plead with people. When I finally went for my first therapy session, and he took me back to Normandy, and it was traumatic. It was traumatic for me, and I was crying and everything. And he said, "I'm going to melt those memory cubes in your head." And then finally, he said, "I'll see you next week, Jack." And I said to myself, "The heck you are! You're not going to see me. I'm not going to go through this." But I plead with you, veterans. Seriously, I plead with you. I went back 3 years, a little over 3 years later. I was cured, and I tell you, my life changed just totally. So thanks to you and starting me, and Dylan Bender, my therapist, which is now an old friend of mine now. He wouldn't have lunch with me when we were going through treatment, but he sure we do now.
And now,
I plead with you guys, do it.
because now he has a joyful life. He has a life of life back again. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, my dad's one of the happiest people I know. And he's proud to tell you, how old are you, Dad?
93.
93.
I'll be 94 December 19th. So.
And he is lucid. He reads 30 books a year. He loves his grandchildren and his children and his friends, and he has a real life. So if you're not having the quality of life that you want, please, without any shame or embarrassment or hesitation, reach out and get help. Right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dad. Thanks for joining us. And everybody, on Memorial Day, remember at 3 o'clock, we're all supposed to stop and take a moment and honor all those who have ever fallen in war. Let's do it. All right. Thank you, Dad.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
And in just a moment, we'll be back with Kimberlee Centera of TerraPro, who's fighting for sustainable, renewable energy in our country. All right. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Sometimes life throws you a curve. It can be a health scare, divorce, loss of a job, or death of a loved one. And big changes can make you feel stressed out and anxious, depressed, or unable to sleep. Nothing feels comfortable or safe, and that's a tough place to be. Wouldn't it be nice to have someone to talk it over with? Someone who understands why you feel the way you do and knows how to help. Paula Shaw is a life transitions counselor, an expert therapist that can help you deal with unwanted destabilizing change or disruption in your life. Using a variety of mind-body techniques and psychology processes, she helps identify the key issues, eliminating self-sabotage and doubt to get you rapid results. Paula Shaw Counseling is open to all people, all ages, and all walks of life. Big life changes can be tough. Paula Shaw can help you get through it. Call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234. 858-480-9234.
My business has lost its upward momentum. I'm working up to 14 hours a day, but my sales seem to have plateaued. I'm so overwhelmed.
I used to have that same problem, but ever since I found the Balanced Millionaire Consulting Firm, our sales and profits have risen sharply. Even our staff is more engaged, and the atmosphere is full of energy.
I have no time to work on my business to develop new sales and marketing strategies. I would love to expand, have strategic partnerships, and access to financing.
You can do all of that and more. The Balanced Millionaire Consulting Team advises you on streamlining your operations, establishing alliances, and most importantly, increasing your revenues and profits.
Let us help you build value and reduce stress in your business. Take charge. Don't let your business control your life. Visit thebalancedmillionaire.com or call 442-224-0160 for a free consultation. That's 442-224-0160 or thebalancedmillionaire.com.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. So glad to have you with us. As you know, if you've been listening to the show, we're talking about fighting for your country today. And we've just been visiting with my dad, World War II veteran, Jack Gutman, who served in the Invasion of Normandy, the 75th anniversary of which is coming up June 6th. But we've got Memorial Day coming up even sooner. And so we wanted to be focused on our country today and people who are of service. And obviously, Memorial Day is about taking time to honor those who have fallen in battle. But on this show today, we're also honoring those who are fighting for their country by helping to preserve the environment, helping to make this country a beautiful place that will last for all the people. So my next guest is Kimberlee Centera, who is the founder and CEO of TerraPro Solutions. She's a trailblazer in a male-dominated industry, and she's a risk management expert for the development and financing of large-scale generator energy projects for utilities and community development. She is an amazing lady. Some of you may remember she's been on our show before. And today we're going to be talking about a group. And I'm not quite sure if Kimberlee started this group. We'll have to ask her. Or if she's just a leading member of it. But it's called RISE. But the letters are WRISE, which stands for Women of Renewable Industries and Sustainable Energy. Kimberlee, are you there? She's joining us by
here,
phone.
Yes.
Hi, so glad to have you aboard. I know that...
Thank you, Paula.
You know what? I think we should start, Kimberlee, by just asking you, because someone asked me yesterday, what's renewable, sustainable energy? So could you give our listeners a little overview of that first?
Oh, sure. Happy to. So renewable, sustainable energy is, typically the integration of some kind of renewable source, such as wind and solar. It can be water. There's other aspects that we bring into the environment, and we use it to harness it basically to generate energy, to be able to provide electricity and power to our homes and our communities.
And we're doing it in a clean way that isn't damaging the earth. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kimberlee, when you were on our show before, I remember we talked about how passionate you are to bring more women into this industry. And did you start RISE, or are you a member of RISE and a promoter, a huge promoter?
Right, a huge promoter. I can't take credit for starting RISE. RISE actually started as WOWE, WOWE.
WOWE, I love
for
that.
Women, right, for women in wind energy. So, and actually it started maybe about 12 years ago, and it actually was started by several great, fantastic, talented women at the firm that I was working at the time, and there was a group of women who saw a need out there for women to get together and really have a way to be able to network and talk about their challenges and ways that they could promote and advance. So it started out as just wind, and then a few years ago they rebranded to be all renewables. So to be able to capture solar and energy storage and all the different opportunities that are out there.
I think that is such an important group because this year, one of my favorite movies, I don't know if you saw it, was the movie about Ruth. It was called On the Basis of Sex, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg story. And she, too, got into law at a time when that was unheard of for women to be in law. She was one of the first women at Harvard Law School. And she went through some very difficult times because people were used to guys and doing it the guy's way. Have you encountered these kinds of situations, becoming one of the first women in this industry?
I certainly have, and in the early days of renewables, and I started pretty early in the 90s, there were not a lot of women in this space. Mm-hmm. And I actually was fortunate to become one of the first female vice presidents in development at the time at the company that I was at. And really at the time, I looked around the room and, I thought, gee, all these guys, we're all doing the same things. My area of expertise was different, but I thought, why shouldn't I be recognized with the same title and the same compensation and that sort of thing? So I asked for that promotion. I was fortunate, to get it, and I had actually worked very hard. So
I
think
that.
it's,
and we've
right,
talked
and
on
I
our
think
show before how women are still only making 80 cents to every dollar that men are. So I'm sure it was really inequitable when you first came on board in this industry.
it was really a challenge. And I think just, having to prove yourself in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed, but still it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to young women now that want to succeed, and I'm always happy to mentor the young women. And, we talk about the barriers that are out there, and there's still a lot of barriers for women that want to succeed. And so, this group really provides a resource for women to talk and say, and have a chance to compare notes
Mm-hmm.
and find out, what works. And, and I think also to start to try to bring about some changes, and
Yes.
the wonderful thing that I will say about RISE, and while we have been followed it all these years, is in the early days you saw very few men at the events. And I was at one of the very large events last year, and a third of the room were men, and not just men, but high-ranking, executive suite men that
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be there because they want to know how to advance women.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's wonderful. And I know that there's an event that RISE is putting on that you want to talk about. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we have a week that we call RISE Week, where we really work to, give special emphasis to this opportunity that we want to bring women in. A lot of women are just not aware that this resource is out there.
Yeah.
And so we're having a special event, what we call a lunch and learn event, where we're going to be speaking of, featuring a fabulous speaker on the idea of leadership. And again, just to make women aware of some of the tools and the resources that are out there. And I think also the kinship, it's not just women in renewables, but in a lot of different sectors where they encounter some of these challenges to advance.
Yes. And I'm sure a great deal of women didn't have any idea, first of all, that there were careers for women in this whole area. And I love that this group is coming together to help to work through the barriers and give women information and make this kind of support possible. So if there's a listener who's interested in RISE or perhaps coming to this lunch, is it open to others, Kim?
Absolutely, yes. We're looking to increase our membership, and we'd love to have, men and women come, but certainly the ladies come and learn about what we're doing and have the opportunity to hear, challenges from other women and how
Yes.
they've been able to conquer those and move forward.
And to network with others, right? So you can build that support group and people who can help you with their ideas and their information. I love that. How do people get information about this luncheon or register for it?
There's an Eventbrite link that's available on the RISE website.
Okay.
And all they have to do is sign up for the event. It'll be held up at the Carl Strauss Brewery location in Sorrento Valley.
Okay. And the RISE, what is the address of the RISE website?
The address is RISE, so it's it's actually WRISENERGY.org. So riseenergy.org.
Riseenergy.org. Okay, and that's where they can get information and maybe register to go to this luncheon on June 4th. I don't have a time, but I'm guessing it's going to be 11:30 or 12 probably. But they can get that information at RISE, spelled WRISE, and then NERGY, riseenergy.org. So for any women out there who are interested in pursuing a career in this state-of-the-art, definitely growing, upwardly mobile career area that is wanting women to participate. Please go to RISE Energy, WRISE, not two E's, .org, and you can get information there about the luncheon, because we want new members, right? Kimberlee, that's what you were saying. They want new members. They want people to come from outside to learn about all this, correct?
Yes, we absolutely do. And members of all ages, we want to be able to learn and embrace all the different ideas, and absolutely.
Well, I love it. And bring women to the fore in this field. And after this commercial break, Linda Shaffer-Vanaria, the speaker of that luncheon, will be joining us. So, Kimberlee, thank you so much for being with us, for being the trailblazer and the fighter that you are, for being on my show. I love to talk to you.
Oh, thank you, Paula. Wonderful opportunity. So appreciate it.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, and hopefully I'll see you at the luncheon. I'd love to go.
Oh, yes, please.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, take care. Thank you. And we'll be right back with Linda Shaffer-Vanaria.
We'll be right back with more Change It Up with Paula Shaw on AM 1170, The Answer.
Jack Gutman survived World War II and then returned home to the hardest fight of his life with PTSD and alcoholism. Now at age 93, he's a businessman and comedian, sharing his message of recovery and hope in his new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, helping our heroes and anyone who has experienced PTSD find happiness again. Get Jack Gutman's new book, One Veteran's Journey to Heal the Wounds of War, at Amazon.com, or to order a signed copy, call 714-525-4954.
For those looking to improve their lives, there's nobody better to turn to than Paula Shaw. Paula helps people regain successful lives by identifying and eliminating self-sabotaging behavior using a multitude of mind-body techniques to identify and resolve their core issues. Working with a wide variety of healing modalities, she provides her clients with the most effective process for their specific needs. To book a session with Paula, call 858-480-9234. That's 858-480-9234.
Welcome back to Change It Up. Now here's your host, Paula Shaw.
Welcome back to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. I'm delighted to have in studio with me right now the woman who is going to be the speaker at the luncheon we were just talking about with Kim Centera, the luncheon for the RISE group, which once again stands for, oh, I knew I was going to forget this, Women, Women of Renewable Industries and Sustainable Energy. And this is a group that has formed, in case you're just joining us, to support women in getting into careers in renewable and sustainable energy. They're going to be having a luncheon on June 4th, and the speaker will be Linda Shaffer-Vanaria, and she is sitting with me in studio right now. Let me tell you a little bit about her. For over 16 years, she has worked globally with diverse organizations as a consultant and a coach with her company, Enterprise Coaching of Carlsbad. Drawing upon her unique experience, get this, one of the Navy's first female test pilots. Yes, this is a lady who had guts at a time when a lot of people didn't. And she's the second woman operational squad commander. So here's somebody who really knew how to step up and do what she needed to do. Her book is called Perception Power, 10 Skills to Get Your Team to Buy In, Take Action, and Gain Momentum. I think that's what everybody's dying for their team to do. I can't wait to talk to you, Linda. And her topic on that luncheon day will be called Leadership Skills That Will Help You Soar. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Paula.
I'm so delighted to have you here in studio with me.
Wonderful to be here.
So, first of all, I got to ask you, how did you end up becoming a test pilot? You look like such a normal, mild-mannered sort of person.
I am a normal, mild-mannered sort of person until I'm not.
That's a great line.
I think you have to have the passion. And there was pilots in my family. My dad was a navigator in World War II.
Your dad, too, was in that war.
He was. And there was 2 other pilots in the family. And I used to find these artifacts in the attic. And nobody ever talked about anything. And we always become attracted to secrets.
I see. In many families.
We're a child, and I just saw the honor in it. And I saw the real adventure and the mission. And it just called my name.
Wow. And so tell me, how did your experience and your work as a test pilot translate into now being a consultant and a coach, teaching people about leadership?
Oh, it's totally integrated, because the part of that really is critical, it's not about telling people how to fly or test an aircraft. But there's so many things that I learned as a test pilot and a squadron commander and in all the different roles I had up till that point that really taught me unique aspects of leadership, not the least of which is how to think on the fly. And I find that...
Did you say how to think on the fly?
Yes, absolutely.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
But I get it. Because obviously when you've got a giant aircraft under your control and your command, you better know how to think quickly, right?
Yes, thinking quickly is essential. And also there's aspects of that. There's terms like do not be behind the aircraft. If you're too far ahead of the aircraft, you miss the opportunity to perform. And that's so true with leadership. Sometimes leaders
tell us more
are...
about that. I love that.
That's great, yeah. Leaders can be so far ahead in the strategy that they forget to connect it to the day-to-day action. They can be thinking about things in the past where they forget to make it real today. And there's an art form to it. Some of I have my own models that have emerged over working with over 1,000 leaders, personally coaching in many organizations and teams. And I have found that it's really pivotal today. There's more disruption than ever. There's more need to deal with the volatility that is coming up. And it does things to people, like forces them to want to focus on the thing that's right in front of them. And you can't afford to do that. And so you have to have a thinking approach that allows you in real time to be able to get your thoughts broad enough and focused enough where you're asking the right questions very deliberately so that you can bring yourself to solutions that are going to work, be doable, and have your intentions and such be able to be formulated in a way that you can really drive it to the outcomes that must happen.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is there has to be this very fine balance of thinking big picture, kind of into the future, knowing what happened in the past, but being able to connect and relate to the people working with you in the present. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's not just about thinking in the big picture in the future, but it's learning how to think big picture in the moment. If you think about the topic of soaring, so often people think about the big birds of prey soaring and how just breathtaking they are to see a photograph of them even. But they don't really understand what's going on when you're soaring. First of all, when a bird soars, it's managing their energy. And here we are talking about energy as it is in the world at large. Right. But as leaders, we need to be able to manage our energy in a way that allows us to really get thoughts and solutions together.
Yeah.
And so a bird might circle because it's taking advantage of the thermals that are out there. And also, if you think about an eagle, we forget this. With view, while they're circling, they're also seeing the world at large. But they're not seeing it with our eyes. They're seeing it with their eyes. And their eyes are like 200% more powerful than ours, where you think about 10 stories high, they can see what you're reading on your cell phone. They may not understand it, but they can see it.
Wow.
And I believe that the leaders of today need to know how to do that for themselves. And so that's what I work with them to help them be able to do that. It's essential.
And I'm wondering, because there's so much talk about millennials these days, and we know that they're moving into those positions where they're making decisions and they're leading. Are there different techniques that you work with them, or is there any difficulty getting the millennials to see things in a way that you think is really effective?
It's a very interesting that you bring that up. I find that I'm coaching more millennials than ever before. They're seeking me out, and they're hungry for this, really hungry. The millennials I work with are typically very fast-track millennials. They just want to get ahead, and sometimes they advance so fast that they didn't have the opportunity to really sort out their leadership and to have somebody to be able to sit with them and get them focused and organized in a way that can help them to, have powerful changes that really make a difference is huge. As a matter of fact, I'm going out to dinner to celebrate with a millennial that I've been coaching.
Really?
That just got a promotion, so it's exciting.
Oh, yay. So you're going to be talking on June 4th, was it the luncheon? I think
June 4th,
June
yes.
4th. You're going to be talking about, what was that topic? Leadership skills that help you soar. What kind of skills will you be talking about, Linda?
Well, some of this is making the decision to soar. We always assume that soaring just sort of comes to us because it seems so relaxed. But it's a deliberate act on the part of the bird. And as we're flying in our business and our life, it needs to be a deliberate act on our part. It's not something to be left to chance.
Yes.
So much of what's going on in business and leadership, people put their leadership often on the back burner. They're focused on the operational day-to-day. And so they need to know how to soar, to invite the real leadership discipline into their space, or it may get left out in the cold. So I'll be talking about that, mindsets, how to really broaden out your field of view and have it be powerful more than ever before, taking ownership of how you're going to create that buy-in and momentum, things that I put in my book, Perception Power. Those are skills that emerged from coaching leaders over 16 years, and I found it was the single skill that nearly every leader I ever worked with was missing. And the more capable they are, the more it seemed to be away from their capacity because
and what
they're
was
so
that
focused.
skill?
Perception management and power, taking power of that, because if people can't stay with you when you're at the leading edge of what you're doing in your business, it's very hard to keep driving forward. You're doing it alone. And so you must be able to bring people into the realm of understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it, understand just how frequently you have to communicate, specifically how you get the story at large being understood in a way that people are ready to go and go, I get it, stay with it.
So they won't really buy in if they don't get what you're doing. Is that basically what you're saying? They have to understand so they can connect with it.
They do, and it's more than just a casual, I think I'll do that tomorrow afternoon. You really need to know what you're doing.
And be deliberate.
Yes, you do. Deliberate is the way to go.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am really excited to hear this talk that Linda Shaffer-Vanaria will be doing on June 4th at the luncheon, the RISE luncheon we talked about. And again, information for getting tickets to that luncheon is at WRISENERGY.org. You can get information about it and tickets. Linda, thank you so much for this amazing perspective you've shared. I think your work sounds fascinating, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing you speak that day.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
I love my work.
You'll have to come back and join us again sometime, and we can just talk leadership.
I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you for having me today.
My pleasure. And thank you to my listeners for joining us once again. You'll hear us every Sunday night at 9 o'clock on AM 1170 and 96.1 FM. We're also on every major podcast platform, including iHeartRadio and Blog Talk. And don't forget, if you forget all of that and you're looking for us, just ask Siri or ask Alexa. They'll find us. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Change It Up with life transitions expert, speaker, and best-selling author, Paula Shaw. Join the Change It Up movement with Paula Shaw as we explore topics that inspire, welcome change, and create a new kind of conversation. To learn more about Paula, how to be a guest on the show, and sponsorship opportunities, visit changeitupradio.com. Whether you're feeling happy, sad, mad, or glad, it never hurts to change it up.
For joining us. Don't forget about this luncheon, especially ladies, if you have any interest in a career in renewable, sustainable energy. Be sure you go to WRISE and ERGY.org, get the information and register for the luncheon so you can hear Linda's wonderful talk. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.